What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Off the Ball podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron. And on today's show, we're going to dive into one of the best YouTubers in the whole of the NBA draft universe. He's one of my favorites. He's someone that I watch a lot of his videos to get my intel for all my draft preparations. You guys know, and I've done a lot of NBA draft, mock draft shows. I've done two already, and have had a lot of NBA draft analysts, and I've used his videos and his breakdowns to make sure that I get all my information right. So I'm very excited to have him on. I have Keandre of Hoop Intellect. Keandre, what's going on, my man? I'm really happy to have you on the show, brother.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So like I said, your YouTube page is one of my favorites. Obviously, like I said, you do a lot of breakdowns of especially of the draft prospects, and you do other things too, and with other players, NBA players, and all that. But like it's NBA draft season for me. I love the NBA draft. I'm big into it. So I've always tried to find videos of breaking down play, because it's sometimes it's hard to find film on a lot of guys. But I ran into yours, especially this year, and I'm like, wow, how detailed it is. You're very detailed about it. You do the video and you have it on the bottom of the screen. You say the situation and how they are in those situations. So just talk to me about how you got that started and that whole process.
Well, initially, the channel started kind of, I wanted to bridge, actual basketball, like basketball playing with, like the analytical side of things and like just analysis in general. So, you got your Draft Express. There's like two sides of the NBA culture. I just wanted to kind of merge those in a way. But at first, it's really hard to get views on YouTube and break into that space.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I kind of started doing highlight tapes of people who didn't get as much, praise or acclaim as others. My most viewed video is Alex Caruso's highlights, which has like 700,000 right now.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. But I never thought that was going to blow up. But that's kind of how I got into the space. But this year, you got guys like LaMelo, James Wiseman, and Killian Hayes, a couple others, Tyrese Halliburton, who were already done with the season. Like, that was the last of their tape that we were going to have before the draft came. Obviously, it was in like January, February where I thought of this, so I thought the draft was going to be in June.
Exactly.
Like usually. Yeah. So I kind of just thought that I felt like there was something missing in like the NBA draft space a little bit. There wasn't as many – because Draft Express used to do a lot of stuff back in the day. And, I kind of liked what they did. So I just kind of wanted to take the good parts of that and then merge what I had to give. And, I came up with this, which was only supposed to be 10 videos at first. But once people started liking them so much, I was just like, you might as well just keep going with it.
Yeah, for sure.
And the thing about it is I've been covering the draft on Medium. So it's just like all written stuff for like the last 2-3 years. So I just kind of merged those things together, put on YouTube.
Yeah, like I said, your videos are very detailed. So how much time goes into a video that usually takes? How long to get everything going, making sure you have everything, how much film you watch and all that aspect. I'm sure it's a lot of tape you're watching to make sure you get everything together.
Yeah, it really, I couldn't like boil it down to like a time amount, because I'm like constantly watching different film on different guys and stuff. So, but like, I'll go through their basketball reference page and look at all their best games and worst games. Then I'll go through on Synergy and find like different clips, just kind of evaluating their game, and then write this scouting report, initial thoughts. Go through more film, and then start cutting clips, and then from there, like once I put it into my editing software, like it just depends on how much I have, like when that video is gonna come out specifically. But it does take a little bit of time to put together all these videos. I kind of got in the groove like last week. I
Mhm.
was like hitting them every single day.
Okay.
That was just kind of a build up over time, but yeah, takes time for sure.
Yeah, I could imagine. I could imagine. So how many guys have you done so far for this draft class?
I think we're up to 34. I have to check. There's a playlist. It's easy to see,
Yeah, yeah.
but somewhere around there, that's where I'm at now.
Okay. So obviously, you're watching a ton of film. Who are the guys that just stand out to you when you watch the film? You're like, okay, this guy's going to be something.
Well, for me, I think LaMelo personally, just for a long time, I've been watching him. Since you can just kind of see it, like when
Mm-hmm.
somebody has something there. It doesn't mean they're always gonna like
Yeah.
become a really good player, but he had that it factor for a long time, even in high school. So like just watching him go through what he went through in Australia and developing as a player, um, that's one of the guys who really sticks out to me. But for a sleeper, um, I really like Kyra Lewis out of Alabama. I
Yes.
I haven't
Yes.
seen a lot of people talk about him as much as I think they should have, but he's definitely one
I'm
of my
I'm
favorites.
big on Kyra Lewis. And then I've done a couple mock draft shows with a lot of guys that NBA draft guys on Twitter that I found. And when I had him on the show, I used to always wind up with the sixth pick with the Knicks, and I took him in both the drafts. I just think his speed and all that, the way he can get to the basket, I think that'll translate into the league, and he's definitely been rising for me for sure.
Yeah, he definitely needs to, gain a little weight and,
Yeah, yeah, of
put on
course.
that for durability's sake. But I like a lot what I've seen from him for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely like one of those risers for sure. And to go back to LaMelo, I mean, he's obviously been a polarizing player. I mean, I feel like we've seen him for like 10 years already. It
Yeah.
feels like that's how long he's been in the spotlight. And you know, what are the things about LaMelo that for you stand out with him the most? I know he's obviously like he's polarizing. Everyone's like I said, the 100-point game in high school. We all know about all that stuff. But what for you? What stands out to you that you think that definitely can translate to the league?
I think the biggest thing with him, he already has an elite skill. So he's the best playmaker in this draft, in my opinion. Some of the passes he makes, I think if he was in college basketball and everybody got to see him, ESPN eyes every day,
Mm-hmm.
I think he would, you know, change a lot of minds, be a little bit less polarizing, because a lot of the stuff I feel like is just some of it's LeVar, and also people just haven't seen him play very much besides like a YouTube highlight tape
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or whatever people tell him. So just his ability to play out of the pick and roll. Um, he has really nice touch, even though his percentages were pretty bad in
Yeah.
Australia. There was like, if you've seen my video, I talked about it. Just a lot of shot selection stuff, and a lot of just growing pains and just being more consistent with him. But yeah, definitely as a playmaker, I think once he grows from there, he's good to go. Um,
Yeah, and like you just said, he's growing. It's he's growing for sure, both figuratively and
yeah,
literally. Like he's like a monster. Like it felt like he was like 5'11", like 2 years ago. Now he's what 6'8", and,
yeah,
and the passing, like you said, the playmaking ability, and I feel like with the shot selection stuff, he's playing overseas. He wants to just do his thing. I used to worry about that. If you look, because you look at the percentages and you're like, it was probably
yeah,
around like 39%. But you're like, he's not playing with a lot of talent in Australia. Let's be real. He's not playing with guys that he would be playing in the NBA. So he's going to take a lot more chances, and so I think that's something that will definitely work on in the league. And like I said, his playmaking it's tremendous. I mean, his passing is already would be tremendous. I mean, he's kind of like his brother Lonzo, like as far as
yeah,
passing, they both just know how to do that. So I definitely like him a lot. I worried about it at first because obviously you worry about big baller brand, you worry about pops and all that, but I feel like he's just matured. Like I feel like people forget about that. Him is like he's matured. He's
yeah.
definitely matured, and I think when he gets to the league, he'll be ready to go, and he won't be afraid of the big stage. I think that's
Yeah.
the one thing out of all these prospects, he's already handled all the pressure. So like no market will be too big for it. Like New York, he'll be fine with New York. That's
Yeah.
not going to be a problem with him for sure.
He's kind of rare because a lot of guys you do have to worry about that stuff with, at least in year one. A lot of guys get over it quicker than others. But with him, he's been in the spotlight since he was like 14 years old, like
Yeah,
five,
he's
seven.
been forever. Yeah.
It'll be easy for him in the spotlight. I mean, there'll probably be some growing pains with every rookie, but
Of course,
I
yeah.
think he'll be able to handle it.
Yeah, and a lot of buzz around New York, especially for him. What team you think is the best fit for him right now?
I thought about this a lot. I really don't know. There's no like perfect fit in this draft, in my opinion. But I like the Knicks for him, especially because if they get a point guard this year, they'll still probably be pretty bad the next
Yeah, for
season.
sure, yeah.
And then we got the 21 draft, which has so many, like the most 6'8" wings who can do stuff that
Yeah,
I've ever
yeah,
seen.
yeah.
So it's
Oh,
like
so much
you
talent.
add that to RJ and Mitchell Robinson and whoever else they bring along the way. I think that's a good core to start with.
Yeah, I mean that'd be tremendous. I mean, obviously, I would love for him to be in New York. I think him and RJ, and like you said, they'll probably not be great, but they'll still probably have a high pick next year, and they also have Dallas's pick next year, and you never know what can happen there. Especially in the West, they can miss the playoffs in 40 plus games. For 51 plus games, they could win. So they have those two things going for them, and you can always trade that pick and move up for in whatever cases. But yeah, I mean, I think that him and RJ, I think with the pace that LaMelo likes to run up and down, I think that's what they kind of need the Knicks. And I just think it's a perfect fit. I think it's really a perfect fit. So let's see. Obviously, I think we got the lottery that's coming up in a few weeks. So we'll finally get to know the draft. It feels like it's been lagging like forever.
I know.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get to my next point. Is obviously COVID hit and it changed everything. It changed everything. So just how is having too much time, like obviously, the draft would have been happened. Is having too much time, do you find yourself nitpicking a little bit too much, or like, all right, I'm set, nothing, like in your mind, you're like, all right, I'm set on this guy. Nothing much can change from here till draft, which I think the draft's in October. Like nothing's going to change for me. Like, or are you still like, oh, okay, I'll watch an extra game of this guy and that. How is that process since there's literally we have forever before the draft?
Yeah. So usually I try to go with some of the top guys first. So probably the top 20 for me isn't going to change too much
for sure.
at this point. But everything from 20 on is pretty much free game in terms of like nitpicking, like 45 to 37, who's where and whatnot. So I don't know if you saw the first big board that I did on YouTube, but that video, a lot of the back end of that is definitely changed by now. But like you said, like nitpicking, I try to like, if I change my mind, I try to go back to think about like, why did I do the other thing first? And, just kind of, because there is so much time. It's like you can just change your whole opinion just because you just overthink stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't. It's like it's a tough thing to like figure out.
Yeah, and I agree with you at that point. I mean, I'm sure and most people I've talked to, they said their top 15, their lottery to top 20 is probably the same. It's not going to, maybe you bump a guy up one more slot, but nothing drastic. But it's that, that 30 to 60 range, 70 range, or however big your board is that's where you're like, okay, maybe I should watch the guys in the 70s and watch a little more film of those guys. And I've seen guys who have like, oh, wow, I didn't think this guy, but I didn't know much about this guy. And you see people, that you never might have not think would even be draftable. And you're like, okay, move them up. I like this guy. So I'm sure that might help, especially that was going to help these guys, get more looked at, once comes draft time, because now people are going to have more time to watch those guys. Like you said, the top 20 is going to be, we all know LaMelo, all those guys, Obi, Wiseman, we all know where they're going to go. I mean, nothing's going to change, unless an injury, God forbid, but I think this will benefit the guys in the back end, second round, undrafted guys that might get, more film watched and be like, oh wow, like that's a sleeper here. And I've interviewed a few guys that are in that range, and they're saying this is low key good, because we might get, people might be like, oh, oh wow, I should watch this guy more. So it definitely going to benefit those lower end guys that definitely probably wouldn't get the recognition, if everything was normal, and they, so I think they'll benefit those guys for sure.
I definitely had a couple guys also with like the college, draft deadline being like, I can't remember if it was yesterday or some right now.
It was yesterday.
Yeah. So guys like John Petty, who went back, I really like him. I think he's a really good shooter, but he went back. There's a couple others I can't think of off the top of my
Luka
head.
Garza went back to going back. Yeah, there was a few other guys that
in the end of the second round. So I feel like there's a couple of guys who might slide in, sneak up.
Yeah. Like I interviewed Isaiah Mike from SMU, and like I interviewed him probably like a month or so ago, and he's one of those guys, like second round undrafted guys. And with all this time, the other draft guys I've talked to, I'm like, you guys gotta check him out. Like he's good. And then a few other guys that I've gotten people to like go watch him, and they're like, wow. And I've seen their draft boards. They're like a top 60 player now, where they've went from like not ranked or like, oh, I didn't even hear about this guy. And so, like I said, it's a benefit for some guys for sure that this, but it could also, for the top guys, you could nitpick. Now you're finding ways to nitpick, because you see a lot of people just nitpicking little things. It's like, so that I think it could be a disservice for the top guys, and it could be a benefit for those lower end guys. So,
sure.
But like I said, it feels like it's forever. Like I think the draft is in October. I mean, that's usually when that's when the league starts.
I know.
So it's just crazy how it's changed and all that, and it's it's tough for these kids, not having a combine to go to, and you can only go to so many open gyms, I'm sure, and at one point there was no gyms. I remember when I talked to a few guys, and they're like, I can't work out because there's no gyms. And they take down if outside. I mean, a lot of places. I don't know where you're from, but I know in New York City they took down all the hoops. Like, and if they couldn't take down the hoops, they would lock it. So like where are you going to ball? Like, it's crazy. I mean, you can only work on your other skills, dribbling skills and all that so much. So luckily things have kind of opened up a little bit. So guys are definitely getting better, but it's weird times, man. It's weird
For
times.
sure.
Yeah. So how do you feel about the bubbling situation? How the NBA's handled everything, and and play the basketball right now. I know it's another weird aspect watching it, but I feel like once you get it, like you watch the first few minutes, it's like, all right, it's ball.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job. Way better than I thought. I thought we were gonna, have this whole setup, and then something happened, like kind of what we're seeing with baseball right now. I thought that might happen.
Yeah, disaster.
Yeah, for sure. And then it just kept going. We got there, and then the product has been great. Like there's a couple blowouts here and there, which are kind of expected. But other than that, like almost every game has been really good and entertaining. Yeah, I don't know, like just hats off to Adam Silver and all of them for putting together the infrastructure, and like that's a lot of work to like be so detailed and put all that together.
And they don't teach you how to deal with the pandemic. You're the commissioner, you could deal with lockouts and CBAs and all this stuff, but they don't teach you how to deal with a pandemic and how to figure that out. And he's by far handled it the best. I mean, listen, I know being in a bubble for 2, 3, 4 months, depending how far you get, could be tough, obviously, if you have family and all that. But, if you're all in, I mean, they did it the right way. You have to have a bubble. As you talked about with baseball, they just feel like they wanted the bubble, but the players are like, nah. And then look what's going on now. Like everyone's getting tested positive, and we got teams that already only played 3 games, other teams that play already 10 games, and it's a mess. It's just an absolute mess. So basketball did it. So guys, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it right, and we're gonna be a bubble. It's gonna be 3 months. if you don't want to play, that's fine. That's fine. But if you want to play, and if you get far, like some of these teams want to, you don't want to win a championship, you're gonna have to sacrifice for 3 months, 4 months. So it's crazy how other leagues just don't listen to. Adam Silver has shown that he's knows what he's doing, and he's done it the right way. He listens to his players, which is tremendous that he listens to his players, makes sure all that. So, it's going well. It's definitely going well. Are there anyone that surprised you so far as teams wise that have been surprising you so far?
There's one person in particular. I think all know who I'm gonna say is T.J. Warren. I mean, I feel like
he had another 30-point game today.
Yeah, everybody who's watched basketball knows he could score. That wasn't any question. It was like everything else. Can he play defense consistently? Yeah. He take plays off. He was really good transition scorer. And once he got the three ball going in Phoenix last year, it was like, okay, he might be something. He might be a good piece. And then they traded him for cash considerations.
I mean, that's just Phoenix, though. I mean, listen, I'm a Knicks fan, so I know trash organization. But I need more Phoenix Suns slander. I mean, I know they had a buzzer beater today. Booker had a buzzer beater, and that was crazy. But overall, the Suns have made some really bad decisions. And trading him, an ascending player who's getting better, he was getting better. You don't really trade guys like that for cash considerations. That's crazy to think that they just gave up on him for cash. Not even for a player or draft cash. Yo, we're gone. We need cash. So that's crazy.
They definitely should have got at least a pick out of that because, you got – it makes sense if you want to get more time to, Mikal Bridges and you got Cam Johnson coming in. It's it kind of gets logjam on the wing, especially when you got Oubre as also.
Again.
But you got to get something out of that. What are you going to buy, a copier or something?
Catch. I mean, they used to do that in the 70s where they just crazy trades. They'll trade you for a washing machine. This is NBA. You got to trade me for a draft. I know I would be upset, and it seems like it's getting him tight. And you can see in his play, but he just looks so smooth. His shot selection and he's not just taking crazy shots. I mean, he's taking some nice, some good shots, and he looks like a different player, and it's Indiana is a team where you went into the bubble, you like the way they're constructed, but Sabonis is injured, and you still don't know about Oladipo, and then TJ Warren just says, I got this, guys. I got this. And I mean, it could be a very a sleeper team in this bubble. They could surprise. They might surprise. Milwaukee hasn't looked so smooth. I mean, they lost today. I know they didn't play the second half.
Yeah.
But if you watched that game, I don't know if you watched the game today against Brooklyn. Even when Giannis and all them were playing, it was just okay, they're not crisp. So they worry me. How do you feel about Milwaukee right now?
I kind of take everything with a grain of salt right now. I just kind of revert to who they were before. I mean, it's kind of all we can do since it's such a weird scenario. I thought they looked good in the first game. Today it was kind of like you said before, it was just everything was kind of choppy. Giannis got his first points pretty easy, 10 points, but that Nets team is really bad in my opinion. On paper, they shouldn't be playing with the Bucks.
No,
but they play hard.
They played hard. They played hard for sure.
Milwaukee just wasn't executing. So from that standpoint, but like you said, but your initial question earlier, what team has surprised you? Back to Phoenix, I think they've looked way better than they have all season.
They're clicking.
Guys like Cam Johnson is playing really good. Mikal Bridges in those scrimmage games was looking ridiculous. Ayton shooting threes.
Ayton shooting threes is a new that's a new dimension for him, and if he can add that, I mean, he'll be a bona fide all-star if he adds that for sure. Sounded like Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns has a 3-point shot, and he shoots at a high volume. And at a high percentage, and bam, look, he's one of the best players in the league, and he's an all-star type player. So, I mean, if Ayton gets that, if they can get Ayton going, they can, and obviously they got Devin Booker. So, I mean, he's tremendous. He's just so good. I mean, that shot was just, I mean, and that was beautiful. I mean, Paul George defense was like, you can't play. And I mean, he touched the ball. Like,
I know.
you
It
can't
was
play any better defense than that. And Booker was like, bam, got it right in your face. Like, I mean, they definitely have something going if they can just figure out everything and get guys healthy and all that, because it's just they have the talent. And you've got Devin Booker is one of the best players in the league. They just got to figure out how to get everything clicking together.
I like where they're going though. Like if you look at their future,
Mm-hmm.
because they've always made so many bad decisions, they're kind of walking into like something really good on accident. Because you got Bridges playing well, Cam Johnson, who was picked way too high in my opinion.
Way
Especially
too high. Yeah.
with his age, but you know
he's 23, right? He's 23 when he got drafted, right? He was an old rookie for NBA standards, today's NBA
for
standards.
Sure. Yeah, and then you know they're gonna have like probably 10th, 11th pick somewhere in that range if things stay normal.
Yeah.
And you could get somebody like Cole Anthony to come off the bench, or Kyra Lewis, like or Maxey or somebody, and just build with that. And you got Oubre coming back. That's a good team. Aiden gets better. Booker gets better. That everybody in the West is going to be competing next year. It's going to be a bloodbath.
The West is going to be a blood. Like you said, I mean, because you have Memphis on the rise. San Antonio's still going to be around because, I mean, we still look at them now. I mean, they're winning games. You know, New Orleans is on the rise. Like you said, Phoenix. I mean, Minnesota, you know. I mean, the whole Western Conference is pretty much like any of those teams could be in the playoffs. Like you could win. I mean, as we've seen before, I mean, I remember Phoenix years, when Hornacek was the coach, they won 49 games and missed the playoffs. So that's something next year with the rise of a lot of these teams, we could see something like that where you win 49, 50 games and you're out. You know,
so like
this is going to be
everybody's going to be competing. There's not going to be anybody tank. Everybody thinks this next year is going to be their year to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be really interesting to see, especially with the draft coming up, where you would be incentivized to tank.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what some teams do. Like a team like the Thunder, like it would be really smart of them to like trade Chris Paul. You know, kind of fall back.
And let Shea take the reins.
Go with Shea, all of them, and then get like Cade Cunningham, Kuminga, somebody like that, and build. Like, that's great.
Yeah, that'll be it. Because I mean, I thought OKC would be, you know, a lottery team. I thought they were a top 5 team. I just because I didn't think they would keep Chris Paul. I thought they were going to do free, you know, just a rebuild. We're just going to start all over and do that. But you know, Chris Paul, you know, obviously he still can play at a high level. You know, Gallinari playing at a high level. Obviously, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. To me, if they do get rid of Chris Paul, and I think they will trade him, Shea's going to be an all-star next year. He's going to be an all-star next year. He's special, and I'm mad the Knicks didn't take him. We took the wrong Kentucky dude.
I know. I'm a LeBron fan first, and I'm still a Cavs fan, so like that's kind of where I go. So when we picked Colin Sexton, like even at the time, like, look at my old tweets, I was like, why did we pick Sexton over SGA? Like in that draft, I had SGA way higher than Sexton. Mm-hmm. I mean, Sexton's cool; he's a good scorer and everything, but you know, other than that, he's not like going to help you win. But you know, like you said, like he's special. SGA special.
Yeah, and to get on that Cleveland, and then they took Darius Garland. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that.
You know, I like Garland more like as a prospect than Sexton.
Yeah.
I think Sexton's ceiling is kind of like that Jordan Clarkson role on a good team.
Yeah.
But it didn't make sense at the time to take Garland, and you wish they would have got a higher pick in that draft, both of those drafts, to be honest, because what I was supposed to shake out is the Kyrie trade was supposed to turn into Luka or Trae Young or at least like a Jaren Jackson or somebody, you know.
Yeah.
But it didn't work out like that. So Cleveland, they're in a weird spot, but you know they got Kevin Porter Jr. I think they're going to be able to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean they got some guys. They definitely got some guys, Cleveland, and depending what happens in the lottery this year, we'll see how it goes. But how do you feel about Zion and the Pelicans? I mean, they're another team that so much young talent. Like tremendous amount of young talent with some good vets on that team. How do you feel about Zion and the Pelicans and the future for them?
I like the Pelicans a lot. I thought they were going to make the playoffs this year. Zion was hurt most of the year, so it's kind of a wash. But
Yeah.
Ingram's playing great. Lonzo, when he was healthy, he was playing great.
Mm-hmm.
You got Drew Holiday, JJ Redick, and then you throw Zion in there, instant 24 and 10. It's like this is going to be easy. But he looks way bigger than he did before the break, so it's kind of
he's a
kind
big
of
boy.
alarming. Yeah, and
Big boy.
this whole 20-minute thing they're doing,
Yeah, man, I don't get
might
it.
as well just leave him on the bench. Don't
Exactly.
even take that risk.
Because you're going to listen. You're in the bubble. You might as well try to go to the playoffs. That first game, they could have spread out the minutes. Where all right, you want to play in 15 minutes, fine. That's whatever. Make sure you figure out how to get him in those last 3 minutes of that. Because if he's in that last 3 minutes, they win that ball game. There's no doubt about it. We can all agree they win that ball game if Zion. Zion was having a great game, right? And just the way he rebounds the ball and all that he could have done, they would have won that ball game. And they cost themselves a chance at possibly a chance at the playoffs with that. Now they bounced back to I think what they played today or yesterday, and Zion played I think around 20 minutes, and he had a great game. Him and Bi had I think 40 plus points, so they bounced back. But that loss, those and then they lost the next game, and where they were just out of sync. And I think maybe the effects of blowing that lead and just Zion was pissed. I want to play. He wanted to play. So I don't understand the baby. I don't. He does look bigger. He does look bigger. So maybe it's a conditioning thing. But they still could have figured a way out to, at least. All right, you want the restriction, but let's make sure he's at the end of the game where we need him, so we can win this ball game and try to get to this play. Because all you need to stay is between 4 games of the 8th seed, and you're in that playoff tournament. So I do not understand what happened with that first game.
Yeah, I think these last games are kind of just entertainment. If they make it, cool. If not, at least we got to see all of them play. And, Ingram looks even better than he did before.
Yeah.
For their future, I think they need a more consistent big. Favors is really generic.
Yeah, they have no rim protectors, man. I mean, Jackson Hayes could be that guy, but he's still super raw.
Yeah, he's somebody I'd look for next year, 2 years. He still doesn't know where he needs to be on the court a lot of times.
He's like a baby giraffe, man. He's just all over the place.
Needs to get a little bit stronger in the lower body, set screens. And then off the bench, I think they need a energy scorer because it can get kind of slow. Ingram reminds me of a big DeRozan. I know everybody likes to say KD, but
the KD comparisons are they're a little crazy. He's not KD. Yeah,
it's just they're both tall and skinny. So
and I always thought that was a lazy comparison, because he's KD's on a different level than
I hate comparing people to KD.
There's no way you can't compare anyone to KD. It's impossible.
I know you got Jalen McDaniels in this draft. And everybody wants to compare him to KD, which I see the
little bit,
pieces.
But
I can't do that. I can't compare him to KD because that's like comparing.
Because if that's the case, we talk about McDaniels as being the number 1 pick, or at least the top 2 picks.
Exactly.
If that's the case, if you really truly compare, at least Bi was the 2nd pick in the draft. So that you can understand those comparisons, and he was a baller at Duke. But if you're not a top 5 pick, it's hard for me to take those KD comparisons serious, because the rest you would be a top 2 pick, because KD is literally one of the best players in the league.
Yeah, like I was saying, Drew, the way Drew and Ingram both score is kind of methodical, and then Zion's doing most of his work inside. So I think, just off the top of my head, I don't know who's in free agency or who might be a steal in this draft, but I think if Nickeil Alexander-Walker can kind of grow into that role, he still wants to shoot every single time.
But he had a good game the last game. 2 games ago, but then the last game he only played 5 minutes and 1 of 4, and they were so
I think he could be the guy, but just that extra player is gonna probably propel them into the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. So who do you like? Representing the East, representing the West in this finals?
I think it's the same. I don't have any unique answers here. It's the same guys. You got both LA teams, and then Milwaukee and Toronto. Those are the teams
Toronto, man. I think I think everyone looked at Toronto as like, yeah, I mean, they still don't have Kawhi though. So like we all like skeptical, like, yeah, good. Obviously, we know they got championship pedigree, but it's like, yeah, they don't have Kawhi though. Like at the end of the day, they still don't have Kawhi. So it's like you're skeptical, but then they go out and they absolutely spank the Lakers, and they've won every game so far in the bubble. So you're like, okay, maybe Fred VanVleet balling, Kyle Lowry's balling. So you're like, okay, So Toronto's they're definitely a sleeper team.
Everything that needed to happen for them to like get back to that level they were last year happened. Like Fred is way better. Kyle Lowry, when he's attacking and scoring, makes him a completely different team. Siakam went up another level just another year later.
OG's
playing.
Because he wasn't there last year. He was hurt last year.
Yeah. Ibaka was ridiculous this season. Like, if you look at what he did in Orlando and then, like, several years later, he's this much better. It's like, what happened?
Exactly,
But, yeah, like I was saying, Toronto, Milwaukee, both LA teams, I like those the best. But, Philly is so frustrating to me still.
Man, that was my finals pick before the year, man. That was my finals. But I just thought, like, Ben Simmons he's gonna be on a tear. And Embiid, I just thought they're all gonna take that next level and elevate everyone else and just take over. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man.
We're gonna look back at these Philly teams like what happened, because you got even like last year, especially when you got Jimmy Butler on the team too.
Last year's team was good.
Yeah. It could be just Brett Brown, but you got to figure out a way to put this together, stagger Simmons and Embiid minutes, get shooters on the floor at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Like the first year, what was that? The last year LeBron was in Cleveland, so 2018. That team was gelling. They fell off the rails in that series against the Celtics, I think.
Celtics.
Yeah. But before that, like you got Bellinelli, JJ shooting all these movement threes and everything.
Yeah.
That looked like they were going to do something great. But, obviously they were 3 years younger, so you kind of expected that. But that trajectory is just kind of off. And I think they're just going to be really weird to look at.
I just think the pieces that they try to put together this year compared to last year just didn't mesh. I mean, they thought Josh Richardson would be something, because he was an ascending player in Miami. And when they got him, I'm like, okay, Josh Richardson that's a nice pickup. And he kind of just didn't show up a lot this year. And then Al Horford, you think, all right, veteran guy. I think we all knew he was not going to be the same player, but you thought he was going to get a lot more from him. And obviously his age and all that has definitely shown. And picking Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler, I never understood that. I understood the dynamic. Jimmy is very, he has a big personality, and it can be difficult to play with Jimmy. But to think that you would give to Tobias Harris almost $200 million, and Tobias, he's a, and there's no disrespect to Tobias.
Yeah,
he's like a poor man's Carmelo Anthony. He has a lot of mellow type of game in him, but he's not mellow. And I don't understand how you give him that much money. I just don't get it. And the Elton Brand, I don't know what he did to this team. Losing JJ Redick was huge, and not really replacing him. TJ McConnell too. I don't understand the makeup of this team. And then, to not, they just all over the place. And, but it's crazy. We could see them in the playoffs and turn it up. And then would you be surprised if they come out the East because they're just that gifted and Ben Simmons goes off triple doubles and Embiid is getting 40 and 20 like he did last game? Like, and you saw the last game they play and they're like, where's that team compared to before that where, Embiid's fighting with Shake Milton, like what team are we going to see? And that's the problem is like we could see a team that, could beat any team in the East, but we also could see them get bounced in the first round. So I don't know what Sixers team we're going to get.
Yeah, I think speaking of Elton Brand, like I think they just kind of had to salvage what they had. Jimmy's leaving, so we can do a trade for Josh Richardson, get him in here.
Yeah.
We can get Al Horford too. Like kind of just like exercising all their options.
Yeah.
To try to play give Embiid more of a rest in the regular season with Horford at the 5. I don't know. It was just kind of weird, like the team makeup. Josh Richardson is gonna have to shoot like at least like 37% from three for them to like mesh together.
Exactly.
It's like Simmons and Embiid already aren't a very good fit in the modern NBA. So if anybody else can't shoot, like it gets pretty weird. That's why, JJ was a vital piece for them. And then Jimmy's a vital piece for them because he can create his own shot. That's who they go to at the end of the games. Now they don't – you don't really trust Tobias to do that.
No. And then obviously Ben Simmons still hasn't developed a jump shot. And Embiid, unless he's bullying people in the post, but he should be doing every single play. I'm tired of seeing him pull up 3-pointers. Like, come on now. It's one thing if you were shooting a high percentage, but – dog, you're like 275 pounds. You could literally bully everyone in the post. Like, I understand it's nice to shoot threes and all that, and you want to be versatile. Yeah, I like that. But sometimes you got to get old school and just get in the paint and just dominate. Because, Embiid, when he's on, he's probably the best big in the game. Because when he's on, he's on. I mean, we saw last game, 40 and 20. I mean, if you're on and you're getting 40 and 20, I need you to be in the post more and just dominate. And so they forgot to figure out that aspect because they're too talented. They're too talented. And like you said with Brent Brown, it may be Brent Brown issue. It may be a Brent Brown issue. So we'll see with Philly. But so who you have coming out of the East? It's tough. The East is tough.
Yeah.
It's a lot tougher than people think.
I'd probably just pick Milwaukee because, they got the back-to-back MVP.
Yeah.
Probably the defensive player of the year. Giannis is so tough to stop, especially with the East matchups. I think Toronto has like a really good, probably the second best team to stop him. Mm-hmm. But still, it's a lot of work without Kawhi.
Yeah.
But I probably pick them, but I want to pick Toronto, but it might be just recency bias from the LA game.
I'm the same way too. I'm like, it'd be cool to see Toronto get back without Kawhi there and get because they still like I said, everyone got better and then I don't think a lot of people thought everyone else would get better. So
even like a Norm Powell, like Terrence Davis, like everybody's like Nick Nurse is. I don't know how he didn't get.
Oh, that's another crime. That's a crime. A crime. He should have won that. I thought it was again. I'm like, oh, Nick Nurse is winning Coach of the Year. I mean, look what he did without losing Kawhi Leonard, losing Danny Green. I mean, he lost two big time players that helped the big time with them winning championship.
And all the injuries.
And all that. And Kyle Lowry's older. We all Pau. I mean, Marc Gasol's older. All these guys are older, and damn, he got them at the 2 seed. And he didn't get no love. Like, look, Billy Donovan's done obviously great job, and Budenholzer, tremendous. I think it was Budenholzer too, right? That one co-coach of the year. I'm like, Budenholzer has Giannis, and they were already a great team. They were the 1 seed last year. So I mean, okay, all right, I get it. But for Nick Nurse, I mean, if you thought Coach of the Year, all right, if you want to give it to Donovan and Nurse, okay, cool, I understand that because nobody thought OKC bigger.
Yeah,
but he didn't get Coach of the that I just did not understand. I thought that was a crime that Nick Nurse did not get Coach of the Year.
For sure.
Yeah. So, but Toronto would definitely be a cool story to see them get out.
Yeah.
And, the Battle of LA out west, that's going to be interesting to see with how the Clippers come back with all their guys, with Williams and Montrezl Harrell coming back and how they fit in once they get back. Because I mean, that's probably the matchup we all want to see. We want to see the Battle of LA, so that'll be a fun matchup to see for sure.
I think that's just going to come down to can the Clippers stop AD? Because they've shown that they can stop LeBron, pretty much. You got Kawhi and Paul George. It's like. Mm-hmm. And then you got Marcus Morris to throw at him, Pat Bev in certain spaces. It's like they have the ingredients to stop LeBron. But AD, they don't have anybody who can.
No. I mean, you could put Trez on him, and Trez could probably do a little bit on him. But AD is, if AD has to be the guy for the Lakers. LeBron. Listen, LeBron's LeBron, but they need AD to be 40 and 12 like he was last game, and just be. he has to be the best player in order for the Lakers to get to that champ, because right now he's the best player. I could be wrong, but I think he's the best player on the Lakers right now. Like LeBron showed his age a little bit. He's showing his age a little bit. It's still crazy that at year 17 he's still like, and the fact that it took him year 17 to take a little bit of a slide. But AD's got to be that guy to take over, and this is his moment. He has not had this moment. He had like a playoff appearance, a couple playoff appearances with New Orleans, and didn't do much. But this is his time to shine. This is why they got him, and he's tremendous too. He's so much fun to watch. But it's gonna be fun. That's one thing. That's gonna be fun.
Sure.
The bubble games have definitely been fun and everything. But before I let you go, man, this was a fun conversation. Who's your Mount Rushmore?
Mount Rushmore. So my personal Mount Rushmore, or like who I think the best all time are?
Your personal Mount Rushmore.
Okay, so this is an interesting question.
It's tough because there's so many ways you can go about it. So whatever pops up in your head.
So okay, we'll just do it like kind of traditional. I think you got to have Jordan in there.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first favorite player growing up, and then transition into LeBron. LeBron's got to be in there also, and then I think from there you can go Kareem. I think I'll probably go Kareem because you look at his stats; they're pretty ridiculous,
insane.
And
then go back to college too. I think he won a national championship like every year in college. Like
if he was in the league for those, if he went one and done, well, you couldn't even play as a freshman.
Yeah, they had a freshman team. Like
it's like, what is he doing there? But if he had 3 more years in the NBA to put he had 40,000 points, like, and it'd be like, is Jordan the GOAT? That's what we would be talking about. So you gotta have Kareem in there, I think, and then I think on that fourth one,
the fourth is tough.
It's personal. I feel like it's personal. I'm not like a big fan of like Magic or Bird or those guys. I'm too young to have seen them, in the 80s and everything. And I wasn't a Kobe fan growing up. So I think I'd probably go Shaq just because of his dominance for like that short run. He didn't have the longevity of some other guys. He kind of fell off quick. But, Shaq at his peak, you take him against anybody, any day.
2000 Shaq, when he won MVP and they only lost one game in that playoff to the Sixers, he was the most dominant player I've ever seen, ever. Like, and I've seen Michael Jordan play, LeBron. Shaq was he was just bullying people, like straight bully. And this is an era where there was big men, where big men were still a priority, and he's just bullying them. He's bullying 280-pound dudes, like, and it's crazy.
Who would you put on yours?
My Mount Rushmore, I would put Jordan. I would put I'm a Wilt guy, so I would put Wilt on mine. LeBron, and I'm not the biggest LeBron fan, even though that's my name. Everyone assumes because my name's LeBron that that's really my name. Yeah,
that's
my
crazy.
last name's LeBron, and everyone assumes I love LeBron James. I'm like, no, I'm not the biggest LeBron James fan. Like, and I have it tattooed on my arm too, so that even gets me. But then I don't have the capital B. I'm lowercase b. So when I tell people, it's like, if I'm such a LeBron fan, I would have a capital B. But I have to put LeBron there. And like you said, fourth is tough. Fourth is always tough. So I could put Magic or Bird, and but like you said, I'm gonna put Shaq there just because if I could have any center ever, I'm taking Shaq. So I got the two big men and LeBron and Jordan. Kobe might be the fifth guy on there. I might put him as fifth if it was five, but to me, Wilt and Shaq, they're the most dominant. I think Wilt can play in any era. Shaq can dominate any era, and then Jordan and LeBron, can play in any era too. And this, LeBron, I hear a lot of old heads be like, LeBron can't play in the 80s and 90s. I'm like, are you serious? Like, all right, I'll give you one thing. His his longevity may be short simply because I mean you saw the Last Dance doc. I mean those Pistons teams. I mean Jordan had to retire. Like yo man, my body's shot, and he wasn't even 30 yet, and he was like so his longevity might have been that long because they beat you up in those eras, but he dominated those eras with ease. With ease.
I never understood that because like obviously. You know, LeBron has flopped in the past. Like I'm about as big of a LeBron fan as it gets. He flops sometimes, but that's just the modern NBA. Like
of course,
that's just what it is.
Yeah.
But if you put him, he's 270 pounds. Like you put him in the 80s, he's running Bill Laimbeer over.
Think Kevin McHale is gonna handle him? No.
No, the way you see Jordan moving in these videos, like going past Bird like that, like he has no chance. Like LeBron, just as big. Like he's bigger. Faster, stronger. Like he's gonna get to the rim.
If Jordan was getting past those guys at 6'6", 220, and with ease, what do you think a guy who's 6'8", 250 pounds, who was built like LeBron James is gonna do against guys like that? Like, come on now.
Exactly.
I always laughed at that, but you know, people just don't like LeBron like that. I don't know why. I don't know why they hate him, but they love to hate him. But
I think it's just because he's supposed to be the next Jordan. You know, people they want to protect.
But they're two different players too. That's another thing. Like when the whole Jordan, LeBron, Jordan. Like if you think LeBron's the GOAT, that's cool. But most people think that we'll have Jordan too. It's fine. I think Jordan's the GOAT. But I'm a different era. I grew up in the Jordan era, so you're gonna have bias. You know, there's younger people I know. They know they didn't watch Jordan play, so they know LeBron. So they're gonna say LeBron. Like I'm sure there's people every era, every group of people. You know, younger people, older guys are gonna be like, "Oh, Magic or Kareem, or Oscar Robertson or Wilt Chamberlain or whoever. You know, John Havlicek or whoever. You know, back in everyone's gonna have their play because they lived in that era. So you know, when people get into that whole LeBron, Jordan thing, it's like, come on. First of all, they're two different players. You know, so it's hard to compare. Two different eras. So. But when they talk about LeBron can't play in the 80s and 90s, that's ridiculous. All right, so before I let you go, one more. What player that you've scouted you went the hardest for that actually panned out in the draft? What guy did you like? All right, this is my guy. And then when he got drafted and then he had success, you were like, yes, and you were like, all right, I got it. That was a good one. And not like an obvious pick, but like someone like maybe after the 5th pick, and you're like, and you were like, bam, damn it, I got it. Like,
I think last year, which that's the one that's on my mind the most. I'm gonna try to think of a couple more like before that, but Cam Reddish, I was really high on him all the way through, even through the awful shooting stretches. Yeah. That's like one of the guys you could just see it with. Oh yeah, and he's. The last part of the season has been great.
Yeah. He's going to be good. He's going to be good.
For sure. Like, I made that highlight tape also on my channel.
Yeah, I saw that. That was good.
And you can just see it like you got a lot of Paul George in there, and he's playing defense way better than I thought he would. So he's definitely going to be an impact guy. That's one that
a lot of Paul George. Yeah, you're right. He has a lot of Paul George in him.
That's Paul George is he's probably my second favorite player. Ever, I guess, kind of Jordan's up there, LeBron's up there, somewhere in there. But like, I always was a huge Paul George fan, even like when I was in like 8th grade or whatever. Yeah. I got a Paul George jersey in the middle of Kansas. Like, who does that? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's why I kind of like Cam Reddish. I saw that from a while. Who's one for you? So I can just kind of jog my memory, if you can think of one.
Man, I gotta think. Think hard on that.
I'm actually gonna look some up.
I probably gotta look up. I can't think on the top of my head, but not that
I like Jaren Jackson a lot.
Jaren, I was big Luke. I mean, not that it's, but I thought Luka should have been the number 1 pick. I was big, like he should have been number 1. Like, and I love Ayton. I think Ayton's going to be good, but I was like, they had to take him. I thought Luka should have been the number 1, and I went on. But I also thought Bagley should have been, went 2 and all that, but he hasn't quite worked out. But I still have faith. I still got faith in Bagley that he'll be good. He's got to stay healthy because when he plays, he's good. He just got to stay healthy.
I think I I just pulled up the 2017 draft. I think I like Bam a lot in that draft.
Damn,
I
man.
didn't think he was going to be this good this fast, but he's really good.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of like later picks, I think I don't know. It's kind of just really hard to think about
Yeah.
this. It's a tough question if you don't prepare for it.
What was it, 2017? Yeah. Donovan Mitchell. I wanted the Knicks to draft him so bad.
Yeah.
I wanted Donovan in New York because I didn't think about Donovan until my friend was like, "Yo, you need to watch Donovan Mitchell more." Donovan Mitchell. I'm like, "All right, let me watch more of it." And I'm like, "Okay, this be perfect for the Knicks." And they took they wound up taking Frank Ntilikina, and Frank is who he is. But yeah, I mean, I wish they would have took him. That would have definitely been definitely a lot better. And Shea Gilgeous-Alexander for the Knicks too would have been. It's crazy how they like those two drafts. They could have just really. They could have. We would not be in the situation we are as the Knicks. If they just took just drafted a little bit better. But the draft's a crapshoot. So
Yeah.
that's still. I guess be mad that they didn't take Shea.
Who's somebody you were wrong about?
Who I was wrong about? Oh man.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit more interesting question because then you're not like it doesn't sound like you're just trying to make your ego big or whatever. That's how I felt when I was saying that.
Jahlil Okafor, man.
Mm.
Jahlil Okafor. I mean, I'm a Duke fan, so it was a kind of bias too. But you saw in that tournament and the whole season, man. And even when he plays now, you can still see when he actually gets to play, he could do stuff. Like when AD was out last year, when he was going through his whole thing, he played. He was like 20 and 10, but defensively, obviously, you get him on the pick and roll. You're gonna get past him. So that's obviously been a big hindrance on his career and all that. And obviously, the Sixers kind of messed him up too with everything and all that and how they handled his career because his first year he was 17-7, like he's shooting 50%. Like he was, but I don't know if I was wrong, but I thought he should have been. I thought he should have been the number one pick too. Like I was so high. I thought he was going to be the next Tim Duncan type player. I was so high on him, but the Sixers fit was an awful fit. I thought that was just a bad fit, and he's just bounced around now, and he's just kind of a guy now, and that's a shame because I do feel like when he plays, he could still he could still play at a high level if he gets the minutes, but he's just not getting the minutes. So yeah, I thought he was going to be special.
The game kind of just changed for him. If he's 10 years older,
yeah,
he has a 10-year career like where he can use all that post up stuff. He had to lose weight and get so much faster and more agile to just get back into the league. Like that's a big ask for him,
Yeah, and it was around that time where the league started to change too. He was just the wrong because 5 years earlier he's the number one pick and people like saying he's the next great center of all time, but he was just the wrong era. That's when Golden State was starting to change the game, and the game just came about, volume shooting and small ball, and you need your big guys to move. You see modern day centers now where they look like Jackson Hayes, lengthy guys like that. That's the centers you want. They don't want the typical centers anymore. So it's a shame. I miss those type of basketball, but Okafor, I thought he was gonna be great, but I still root for him.
Yeah, for me, I go back a couple drafts. Ben McLemore, I thought he was going to be really good. And that draft was just weird anyways.
Yeah.
But, you look back at him in college, like he could do a lot of stuff. He was hitting threes. Like you can just even see it now when he plays with Houston. Like there's still a little bit there, but he wasn't able to put it all together. Sacramento,
Yeah, Sacramento is just weird with the players. It feels like their player development is just off.
That whole era of picks was just horrible. You got Ben McLemore, Thomas Robinson, Jimmer. The only one's just like
Thomas Robinson's another guy. You just reminded me. I thought Thomas Robinson was going to be a monster. I just thought this big athletic dude. He was a monster at Kansas. I'm like, there's no doubt he's gonna be a 20 and 10 guy. He's just gonna be a bucket. And from this jump, I'm like, oh man, like he's not gonna be good. And
It
it was
around that
bad.
time, Kenneth Faried was really good. So I felt like his baseline was gonna be an energy big. You come in and get like
Yeah.
9.7 rebounds, something like that. But he just wasn't able to stay consistent. I think a lot of stuff off the court kind of hindered his success.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ben McLemore. I like Thomas Robinson a little bit too.
Yeah, Thomas Robinson, yeah. Both Kansas dudes too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could have a little bit to do with it.
Yeah, Candace hasn't been producing. I mean, Kelly Oubre is probably right now their best, right? Kelly Oubre. I mean,
Devontae Graham is pretty good.
Yeah.
But I can't stay away from KU players when you draft them for the most part.
Yeah.
Because unless it's Embiid, that's the number
and
one.
And Embiid was a big risk too because he was out his first 2 years, and luckily he developed. If he was healthy, he would definitely been the number one pick that year. Embiid.
Yeah, definitely.
He was definitely over Wiggins for sure. There definitely would have been that. Jabari Parker too. That's another guy. That's my Duke bias, but injuries really messed that up.
And he had the kind of mellowish game.
Oh, you just read my mind. I thought he was mellow 2.0. Everything about him was mellow. But injuries were to me the biggest fact. He's another guy because when he plays, that Hawks last year, I think he was on the Hawks last year, and when he played, he was like, I'm like, okay, they're gonna let him go, but then obviously, it didn't happen. So I'm like, damn it, another Duke guy, damn it.
Yeah.
I hope Bags doesn't fit in that, but we'll see. But man, Dre, this was fun, bro. I really appreciate you coming on the show and chopping it up for a little bit. I really appreciate this, man.
I appreciate you having me on, man. Anytime.
Yeah, man. Like I said, continue success with all your videos and everything you do. I know you've been spotlighted with a lot of big time, NBA.com and all that stuff, ESPN. So you do great work. I'm going to continue to watch your stuff, support you in every way because, like I said, you definitely provide a different aspect of NBA, scouting and breakdowns, which is to me is just rare. You don't see a lot of channels like yours, have that detail that that if you're evaluating guys, you want to see who's coming in the league that you want in. So continue with the success with that, and best of luck with that. So where can people find you on social media? Just plug all your stuff before you go.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Hoop Intellect with 3 L's. I tweet there a lot, trying to get a little bit more stuff out there. And then on YouTube, Hoop Intellect, just spelled normally. And those are the main two right now. I'm working on getting to Instagram, try to get stuff out on there. But yeah, those two, bringing a lot of content weekly. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, man. Like I said, continue success with the YouTube page and everything else. You're definitely doing great things, and good things are going to be happening to you in the future. So I'm rooting for you big time. And, make sure you be safe. Obviously we live in a crazy world with COVID and all this crap, so make sure you're safe. And like I said, continue success with everything.
All right, you too, man.
All right, man.